back. Well, to take our discussion on the proposed new law to decriminalise cannabis for private use and how it addresses the matter of criminal records as a result of dealing in, possession and use of cannabis is lawyer and campaigner Gareth Prince. Gareth, good afternoon to you and thank you for your time.
One love and best greetings to all of the listeners and viewers.
Gareth, before we get into this new draft law and your thoughts around it, I'd really like to give our viewers, a sense of this cause that you've been fighting for many years. I mean, you're a trained lawyer, one of the first to challenge the cannabis laws in the country. You've argued that the laws against the herb were morally indefensible and unjust. Take us back. What informed the decision to take this on?
Well, initially I was prevented from exercising my chosen profession, which is to practice as an attorney, because of the fact that I was unapologetic about my criminal record and actually stated that as an indigenous person of South Africa, I did not have to apologize for my usage of cannabis because not only did it form part of my way of life, it's part of the custom of indigenous people. And I, as an individual, have chosen for my life project to separate myself from tobacco and alcohol and rather to embrace cannabis. And I felt that that choice had to be respected by the South African Constitution, and therefore I did not apologize for my usage of cannabis, and on that basis I was declared not fit and proper to practice as an attorney. That was 22 years ago. And 2 years ago, after 20 years, the Constitutional Court vindicated the Rastafari community and the cannabis community by declaring that South Africa's current laws around cannabis fall in line with our new constitutional vision. And quite sadly, one must say that the new bill doesn't do that either.
Well, tell us why you say that. I mean, I was speaking to the Deputy Minister, I'm sure you heard that conversation about this new bill, and speaking about how, after that 2018 Concord judgment, yes, there were a few grey areas, yes, there were questions that were unanswered. Does this particular bill answer those questions for you, Gareth?
Not at all. We must understand that the South African constitutional society is based on 4 pillars: equality, dignity, freedom, and social justice. And the proposed bill does not respect, promote, protect, or advance any of those pillars. As a matter of fact, it perpetuates the idea that cannabis is something much more dangerous than alcohol or tobacco, and therefore it needs to be highly regulated. And it is indeed that thinking that was declared unconstitutional by the court, and the government was ordered to change that and to reasonably accommodate and incorporate the cannabis community into South African society. The bill obviously did not take cognizance of the manner in which cannabis and children should be regulated. So the whole Section 6 of the new proposed bill must be reworked in light of the recent Pretoria High Court judgment in relation to children. Not only that, the bill proposed to still arrest people for cannabis usage or for giving an unscheduled medicine to a sick child or for using cannabis within your house. And therefore, what it does is that it proposes to treat users of cannabis worse than they treat users of tobacco or users of alcohol, and it therefore violates the equality guarantees. The fact that they still want to arrest me for having 20 plants at my house, which is more than the proposed maximum that they want individuals to have, then the police would still have the right to arrest me. We must understand that the issue of cannabis, or the issue of all substances, is not an issue for the criminal justice system of South Africa. That is what the Cape High Court unequivocally found, and the Constitutional Court did not speak against that. We do not, or we should not, arrest people who we consider to be drug addicts or substance abusers. That is a problem for the social health system in our country, not the criminal justice system. And the reason why that is important is because of our response. A criminal justice issue requires a particular response. A social health issue requires a totally different response. We don't arrest sick or ill people. We give them medicine, or we put them in treatment facilities if that is what they desire. But in relation to cannabis, it's not an issue for which the police should concern themselves about. And this is an opportunity for the government to change the conversation away from substance use and abuse but towards job industry, job creation, economic revitalization, economic regeneration of South Africa. And that is where cannabis is to play its most important role. And that is completely missed by this proposed new bill, because it purports to tell people it's okay for you to grow cannabis, to use it, but it doesn't tell us where people are going to source the seeds from. It doesn't speak to the fact that millions of our people are urban backyard dwellers. They do not have private spaces for them to cultivate. Where are they going to get their cannabis from? What about a legal outlet? This is such a beautiful opportunity for the government of South Africa to work with its people, because cannabis is already a multi-billion rand industry. But why should that money go into the hands of corrupt politicians and gangsters when it could be going into the tax coffers of South Africa and into the pockets of ordinary South African citizens?
Gareth, we are running out of time. We are running out of time, but I just want to quickly ask you, since we saw the Concord ruling in 2018, have there been engagements between, the government and those within, the dacha industry, those who are either, have been selling or are users and use it for medicinal purposes or recreational purposes, to say, well, these are some of the ideas that we think, you should look at when you're making these bills and introducing these new laws?
On a scale to 1 out of 10, engagement from government's part has been 2. And that is quite sad. We've reached out ourselves. The cannabis community of South Africa have organized themselves around a cannabis development council, and there are other non-profit organizations such as Field of Green out there that is trying to galvanize organic support for this cannabis movement, and we've availed ourselves to serve as this link between the cannabis community and our government in order to determine the way forward. But government has been reluctant to embrace the cannabis community, in order to sit down with us around the round table, because that is the conversation that we require. We do not want to go back to court, because that does not serve the cannabis community. It does not serve the government, whereas we have in cannabis a very valuable resource that we must put to our use and disposal, because it is our primary reconstruction and development agent.
All right, we'll leave it there this afternoon. Lawyer and campaigner Gareth Prince.